Okay. Welcome to the annual Missouri Walk of Fame ceremony. And during this ceremony each year, we honor some of our best and brightest from our state. And I often hear from those visiting the Walk of Fame, which, by the way, is in the sidewalk of our historic downtown. And this is the 21st year that we have had honorees. They'll say, "Wow, I didn't know there were so many famous people that were connected to Missouri. We really got it going on." And we're proud of those who we've had on the Walk of Fame. And today we had a whole nother class of magnificent names, a whole variety of topics, of classifications, from clown to gentle giantess, the first gentle giantess I could tell you for sure that we've had on the walk, author, musicians, entertainers, and baseball. Several different classifications on the walk for athletics. And so today, I hope that you'll enjoy each of the presentations as you hear about our honorees. Following the ceremony, we'll ask those who are present for the stars if they'll come up and stand with the stars so you can take a group picture. But this is going to be a fun ceremony. To kick us off today, if you'd put your hands together, from my good friend Jonna Clark, who will be introducing Sean Dietrich.
Morning. Sean Paul Dietrich was born December 29th, 1982 in Kansas City, Missouri. Yay. After a childhood of both good and bad events in his life, which included his father's passing, Sean moved to the South with his mother and his sister. He's worked in construction, a numerous amount of jobs, was a soda jerk, and played piano in dive bars when he was a minor just to help make ends meet. Sean was rejected numerous times for his articles to be published. He was told that no one would want to read about good things. Wrong. Sean writes daily articles, has a blog, and tours successfully, giving concerts and sharing his talents. To date, he has over a dozen good things in novels published. He is a self-trained musician, a seasoned writer who touches your heart and teaches you things, and a wonderful human. He has appeared in almost all 50 states and made his Grand Ole Opry debut in 2023. Proud to say my husband and I were there to cheer you on. And Sean and his wife, Jamie, reside in Birmingham, Alabama, and their first novel is being released next month. Yay, together. We Missourians are proud of you, Sean, and we are blessed that you are here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your humor, your music, your God-given talents, and opening your heart to us. And thank you, Jamie, for sharing Sean with all of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, Sean of the South, Sean Dietrich.
I'd like to thank the Academy. I don't know how many of you there were last night, but she had a bad fall, and so now I'm very careful on the edge of the stage. As I walk up, I want to say thank you. I was born in Missouri, and a lot of major things happened in Missouri for us. My grandparents lived in Missouri, around this, not far from this area. My cousins, my grandfather died here, and so did my grandmother and my father. He passed in Missouri. Missouri is just a piece of me. But when we moved away, when I was young, I became a member of the glorious South, but Missouri still stuck with me in my heart, and it was like a place that my mother never wanted to come back to because it represented a lot of pain. Kansas and Missouri were very painful for her, so she never came back, and she's never been back to date. And so my first trip into Missouri again after we'd left so many years ago was almost spiritual, driving through particularly this part of the world where the foothills of the Ozarks just seemed to blossom out of nowhere and kiss the sky with their greenery. It was so cathartic that I had to pull over and just weep because this is a special place. And then when I began writing and performing, I wondered, to myself. You know, I've lived in a lot of different places. I was raised in Florida, on, about 38 miles from the Alabama line. So that's a part of the world that we normally refer to as L.A., Lower Alabama. Which a lot of people don't understand. When I tell them I'm from L.A., they don't really like, I open my mouth and they don't get it. The people in Florida, they don't really claim anybody because Floridians, they got plenty of folks. So it is home for me. It is my home. But I've never been claimed before, and this is the first time I've ever been claimed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for honoree Sean Dietrich. I have the great privilege to honor a man whose life and legacy are deeply rooted in the rich musical heritage of the Ozarks. A son of Missouri whose talent carried him from small-town beginnings to the national stage. Born in Mountain Grove and raised in the West Plains area, Don Warden developed his musical gifts early, teaching himself the steel guitar and performing on local radio right here in the Ozarks. And from those humble beginnings, he would go on to become one of the most respected musicians and behind-the-scenes figures in country music. Don Warden was one of the founding three of the Porter Wagner Trio. Does anybody remember the Porter Wagner Trio? Of course. Performing alongside Porter Wagner and, of course, the great Speedy Hallworth, and made classical renditions that still resonate today in country music. And then later, as part of the Porter Wagner Show, he was seen by millions of viewers across the nation, playing a vital role in one of the most popular country music programs of the time. And it was there that he also became deeply, closely connected with a young rising star who you might have heard of, Dolly Parton. For nearly 5 decades, for a long time, Don stood beside Dolly as her trusted friend, advisor, confidant, manager. And so much so that she lovingly referred to him as her Mr. Everything. His steady guidance and quiet leadership helped shape one of the most remarkable careers in our entertainment industry. Yet beyond the spotlight and the accolades, Don Warden never forgot where he came from. His roots in West Plains and the Ozarks remained an enduring part of who he was, a reflection of his values, faith, and work ethic that defined his life and his career. A gifted musician, a trusted leader in the industry, and a proud Missourian, Don Warden's contributions to country music and to those lives that he touched are immeasurable. Today, it is my great honor to recognize and celebrate the legacy of Don Warden as we add his name to our Walk of Fame, and I'd like to introduce his son, Charlie, to come and give works on behalf of his family. If you'd make him welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Reverend Emerson, for those great remarks. You stole my show here. That's all right. I first want to thank the Cherry Blossom Festival Committee for selecting my father, Don Warden, for the Missouri Walk Hall of Fame here in Mansfield. My father would be honored and humbled by this introduction because of his deep roots in Missouri. My mother also is from the state of Missouri. She was born in Edwards, Missouri, which is close to Warsaw, and they met in Springfield while he was on the Ozark Jubilee. A few other things about my father. He was inducted into the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame in St. Louis in 2008. And then there was a park in West Plains named after him in 2010. And he was so joyed and loved it because a lot of his high school friends and classmates came to the show. After my father passed away in 2017, Dolly did say of him, he was like a father, a brother, a partner, one of my best friends. I feel like piece of my heart is missing today. Certainly a huge piece of my life is gone. Rest in peace, Don. Know for sure I'll always love you. And like Reverend Emerson referred to, he was referred He referred to her as Mr. Everything. And he was certainly Mr. Everything to my mother and me, and he loved the home of Missouri. He would be equally overwhelmed by this introduction to the Walk Hall of Fame today. Thank you for the town of Marshfield and all you who chose to honor him in this way. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Had the pleasure of being seated next to Charlie's mother, Ann, at a reception honoring Dolly Parton at the Country Music Hall of Fame, and she shared some of the greatest memories of Don and his heritage here in the Ozarks, and it's such an honor today, Charlie, to welcome you to Marshfield. To introduce our next honoree, if you'd put your hands together for Sean Spires.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Spires. I was born and raised in Mansfield, Missouri, and I'm not currently the general director of the Ozarks Lyric Opera. I'm here today to tell you about somebody named Ella Ewing. Ella Ewing was born in 1872 in rural Scotland County, Missouri. That's way up northeast. As a child, she appeared perfectly normal, but around the age of 7, she began to grow at an unusual and rapid rate. By the time she reached adulthood, she stood an astonishing height of about 8 feet 4 inches. Quite tall, making her one of the tallest women in recorded history. Her height was likely caused by a medical condition known as gigantism, though obviously at the time little was understood about it. Everyday life was challenging. Simple tasks like finding clothes, walking through doorways, or even traveling obviously could be difficult. Despite these challenges, Ella found a way to turn her uniqueness into an opportunity. She joined the Barnum and Bailey Circus and made quite a name for herself, was the star of the show, got to travel outside of her little community all over the country and made a lot of money, enough so that she was able to come back and build her family a farm and a house. She did prefer a simple life eventually and remained deeply connected to her Missouri roots. She eventually returned home where she lived privately until her death in 1913. Today, I like to think Ella is remembered not just for her incredible stature, but for her resilience and grace in the face of a life that was anything but ordinary. Her story reminds us that what makes us different can also be what makes us unforgettable this much longer. And I would not have known about this until a children's book arrived on my desk in 2022, the name of the book by a Missouri author, Kate Kleiss, who lives in and around Mount Grove. She's an internationally recognized children's author. She wrote this book called Dream Big, Ella Kate. And we decided to make a musical about this, and it's actually premiering May 15 and 17 at the Gilloys, thanks to a grant from the Missouri Humanities Council, all things Missouri. Yes, we love the Missouri Humanities Council and everything that they do. And not only is it going to be premiered there, this story, we're going to be able to take it across the state to tell this true tall tale about Ella Ewing. And I just find it amazing that this was something that I did not know about until I got this book. And then this Missouri author wrote it. And then we got Rule Chappell from the Ozark Mountain Daredevils to do the music for it. And then so we're telling this story, and then to be honored by the Cherry Blossom Festival here with a star on the Walk of Fame. It's incredible, and so we do have a couple of folks from her area up there, including Teresa Cotton, who was able to come down here on Wednesday and be part of the Living History Museum to be able to tell children about her. And so I'm just pleased as punch to be able to tell this tale. And thank you, Cherry Blossom Festival, and on behalf of Teresa and everybody up there at Scotland County, grateful to receive this star on the Missouri Walk of Fame. Thank you.
To speak about our next honoree, if you would welcome to the stage, David Jerome.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to see so many faces here this morning as we honor some legends, and we're so thankful for what they have contributed to not only Marshfield and the Ozarks, but the state of Missouri and our country in many cases. It has been a distinct honor and privilege to have written the story of Preacher Rowe. You can't write a story about just Preacher Rowe. It has to include his wife, Ma Z. And it's been an honor to be able to do that for Kathy and I, my wife, to get to know the Rowe family over the last 4.5 years. We were blessed with the opportunity to visit with Elwin Jr., Preacher and Mozzie's oldest son. They had 2 boys, just a few weeks before he passed, unfortunately. But he did make a contribution to his father's and mother's biography, and we were so happy for that chance to be able to visit with them. Preacher and Mozzie were married in September of 1938, just a few weeks after he made his Major League Baseball debut with the St. Louis Cardinals. He pitched exactly 1 game with the Cardinals, and it didn't go so well because Lon Warnke, the Arkansas Hummingbird, another pitcher from Arkansas, taught him to chew tobacco. And I think Preacher got a little lightheaded. And so after about 2 and maybe 2/3 innings with an ERA of about 13.5, Frankie Frisch decided maybe he had had enough against the Cincinnati Reds. So he went on to pitch successfully with the Pittsburgh Pirates and most notably with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was just a phenomenal human being. He was more than a Major League Baseball pitcher. He was a compassionate, kind person. He could tell some remarkable stories. When I was interviewing Carl Erskine, a famous Major League Baseball pitcher who wrote the foreword to the biography, he said, David, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the boys of summer, would all jockey to get into the car when they went out to dinner because they wanted to hear Preacher tell stories. And so you could just imagine the people like Pee Wee Reese, Duke Snyder, Gil Hodges. I mean, the list goes on of all the people that tried to get in that car to hear, and Jackie Robinson, to hear Preacher tell those stories. Well, years later, when I was interviewing some of the men that played baseball for him in West Plains, they were called the Little Rascals. And when they got a little older, they didn't like to be called the Little Rascals, so they became known as the Deacons. They told me a similar story. When they went to play games away from West Plains, they would all try to get into the car with Preacher so they could hear his stories. Well, now it's time for Preacher's story to be told. Again, I'm so honored to be able to do that, to have done that. And with us today is his son, Tom, and his lovely wife, Sandra, and their granddaughter, Nakia, Dee Dee, and we're just so happy to have them here to accept this star on his father's behalf. So please let's welcome Tom Rowe. You bet.
Nicholas, appreciate you getting all this together. I know it's probably a long, hard journey, but it seems like you have succeeded. So many thanks. Hope you aren't expecting a big speech or anything like that because I'm just Tommy. I need somebody out there in the crowd to do this when you get tired of me. The story about my dad, what a lot of people don't realize about my father was, as I tell everybody, he was just preach. He wasn't anybody special, but if he told you something, you could depend on it happening, being there, whatever. I've heard my dad tell stories for 70 years, and the first time I heard it, 20 years later you'd hear it, and it'd be the exact same story. Because Dad always told me growing up, he said, son, the best way to not get caught in a lie is don't tell one to start with. So, you know, if you'll just do that, you'll be ahead in life. A lot of my dad's success stem from my mother. She was born in Hurricane Holler down in Arkansas. Nobody knows where it is. It's just a one-track path going back into an old holler down there. When Mom passed away, they would have been together 73 years. And I think that's quite an accomplishment. I don't know how that I have done it, but my wife has put up with me for 58 years. So that speaks a lot about her. My mom was, like I said, was very instrumental in my dad's success. They'd go on road trips. Used to, they didn't fly. They'd take a train. They'd be gone for 3 weeks. So my mom had to really clamp down on me and my brother, especially me, because I was just a little bit ornery, you might say. They'd be on a trip, and all the other players would be running to the phone 2 or 3 times a night to call their wife to see what they was doing. Dad said he didn't have to call Mom. Said he knew she was home taking care of his 2 boys. So that he didn't have to worry about. So my dad was, like I said, he's a very honest man. He worked hard. When he retired out of baseball, he bought a grocery store. It was open from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, 6 days a week. Mom would cook us breakfast. Dad would leave and go to work. Me and my brother would go to school. My mom would show up about 10 after 8, and she would be there with him till 6 at night. They like 3 months, being there 20 years working together. So, like I said, a lot of my father's success has to do with my mother. And you know, he was just an all around good man. He started the first Little League team in West Plains. Like David said, we were called the Little Rascals. We only got to be 19 years old, and some of us 20, 21. They said, "Preach." I said, "We're not the Little Rascals." And they said, "Well, let's think of a name." And one guy said, "We already got it. We'll be Preacher and the Deacons." So he said, if when you played Preacher and the Deacons, if you beat them, that made your season. You could go 20 losses and 1 win, but if you beat the Deacons, you had a successful season. So I'm going to kind of wrap things up. I see some young people in the audience. When Dad talked to young people, he always told them, remember this. He said, it's not going to make sense now, but you get home and get to thinking about it. You can't do the wrong thing right, and you can't do the right thing wrong. Now think about that when you get home. That's true. And when Dad would talk to a group of people my age, everybody's age out in here, he was closing, he always said, live every day like it's going to be your last, because someday it will be. So y'all just remember that, and I thank the committee and everybody. Nicholas, thank you. And I see somebody doing this, so I'm gonna round it up. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate the honor. Thank you, Nicholas.
Congratulations. Appreciate that. Good job. To speak about our next honoree, if you'd welcome to the stage my good friend Mark Edelman. Mark's noted in Marshfield as he was our longtime sports editor and was editor at the Marshfield Mail at one time. And he survived. He survived.
And I'm a big fan of the Marshfield Cherry Blossom Festival, always have been. When Nicholas told me that my friend Brent Huff was going to be honored on the Walk of Fame this year, I knew this was going to be my favorite all time of the 21 Missouri Cherry Blossom Festivals that we've had. Brent grew up with me and quite a few people here today in Springfield, Missouri. We went to Springfield Public Schools together all the way through Kickapoo High School, where we were co-captains of the basketball team. You may recognize him as Smitty from The Rookie. The Rookie, one of the most popular television franchises in the world right now. They just got re-upped for a 9th season. They're shipping it all over the world, and they've got spin-offs happening all the time. We'll get Brent to tell us about that success, but he's also been a director, an actor, screenwriter, producer. He does voiceover. He's had a long career. He's been involved in over 100 projects, and he's worked around the world, but he always comes home to the Ozarks, to his hometown, visit his family and friends. Many of them are here tonight, or today. Let's see, what else was I? Oh, we used to like to go down to the Y and play basketball on Saturday mornings. Then we'd go to the square and watch a matinee at the Fox Theater. That's the first time he told me, I want to be an actor. And I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. I never did doubt that he would do it. So fast forward 20 years, I moved to Marshfield to work the newspaper, and I met Nicholas Inman at the Marshfield Mail. And as we became better friends, he told me, he was just a kid at that time in school and already doing things for the community, writing for the paper. And he told me his ambition was to start a cherry blossom festival. And it sounded preposterous to other people, but I thought, no, that sounds about right. And the thing I realized is my two friends are really alike in their ambition, their drive, and their ability to work with people and make a team effort out of everything they did. And so it's really my honor to be here where their two success stories combine. And we honor Brent Huff with his own star on the Walk of Fame.
For coming out today. I really appreciate it. I thought it was going to be pouring rain today and nobody would show up. So thank you for coming. Nicholas, thank you for this. Thank you, the Cherry Blossom Festival. It's great to be here. I am a proud Missourian. Missouri shaped my life. And I am lucky that I have got so many close friends from here, mostly in Springfield, that we're still close friends today. And a lot of them on our basketball team and the cheerleaders are here. So let's get the band back together. Let's do this again. So, I mean, that's how special growing up in Missouri is. And when I tell people in Hollywood that I'm from Missouri, they don't know much about it. And they go, oh, like the series Ozark? I go, yeah, kinda. When I heard that Ozark was coming out, I talked to my agent and said, you got to get me on that show. I'm from the Ozarks. And they go, well, it doesn't shoot in the Ozarks. I go, you're kidding. So anyway, do you guys watch Ozark? Okay. Do you think they did okay? Oh, no. No. Anyway, I'm going to give a special thanks to Mark Edelman. I would not be here if it wasn't for him. Point blank. So he's worked hard to get me in. You know, he told me about this festival a while back and said, you ought to do a documentary about it because it's really cool. And then when I saw they had donkey basketball, I'm like, I'm in. So all my Hollywood friends see me at the donkey basketball game. They couldn't believe that was real. So anyway, I'll keep this short, but I just want to thank everybody, all my friends especially, that have been beside me all this time. You can imagine, like Mark was saying, when I would go down to the YMCA, and then we'd go to, I don't know if any of you, well, you probably remember this if you grew up here, but the Galois on Saturday mornings, you could go to the movies for a dime, you know, and you'd be there and they'd have these raffles and stuff, and that's where I go, man, I want to be an actor. And so when I told my parents that, they thought, what a great idea. No, they did not. They go, have you lost your mind? You're never going to make it as an actor. But and the acting business is up and down. You got to be able to take a lot of rejections, which I have over the years. But I loved it so much that I've just kept at it. But anyway, I won't talk long. But thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate this honor. Mark Edelman, you're the man. And the Pullens my friends at Pullens for driving down from Kansas City. Congratulations.
Good job. To speak about our next honoree, would you welcome Chris Berry to the stage?
I don't know if you recognize that face, if you can see that face. Emmett Kelly, Sr., great American circus clown. So, you know, you talk about 6 degrees of separation. As I'm listening to everybody up here, and bear with me on this, there's about 1 degree of separation from everybody who's been up there with Emmett Kelly. Emmett Kelly was a Hollywood star, just like Brent. He spent years at Paramount Pictures in Hollywood. He was in Cecil B. DeMille's only film that he won the Best Picture for, The Greatest Show on Earth. He was a featured performer in that movie. Ella Ewing, she was a circus giantess. He was a circus clown. I will even tell you, well, Preacher Rowe. Let's start with Preacher Rowe. The 1 degree of separation there is after he left the circus, he was the very first Major League Baseball mascot. And who was he with? The Brooklyn Dodgers, the Bums. He was there, not at exactly the same time as your father, but he was a part of the Dodgers. And I'm thinking to myself, so what's his connection to you? He was a soda jerk about 50 miles from here in Houston, Missouri. When he was a kid, Emmett Kelly was a soda jerk. He went on to become the most famous clown in the world, seen worldwide. He was a circus clown. He grew up, he used to listen to he lived over in Houston, actually on a farm over in Houston, and he would hear the train as it would go by, because there was no train station in Houston. There was one in Kabul. And so he would hear that, and he'd think about where he wanted to go in his life. And he was a very, very talented artist. I don't know if any of these people here are artists, too, but there would be another connection there. And his mother, this is a long time ago, his mother would spend the money that she got for selling eggs so that he could take correspondence courses in cartooning. He became a really good cartoonist. And so he went to Kansas City. Walt Disney was there at Kansas City as a cartoonist at the same time. They knew each other back then. And he created this character, which he then put to life during the Great Depression when a lot of people looked kind of like this. And he kind of brought comedy into that, right? He was famous until one day on the circus lot, he met this woman, beautiful German acrobat. And he was an older man at this time. And he would come and watch her perform. And one day he knew enough German that he went over and he asked her to go out for a drink, or I think it was lunch actually, that they went to. And so she's like, okay. And then she realized, I have no idea what he looks like. He looks like this. So she's German. She goes back and she's at the circus and she sees these German clowns and she says, hey, where's Emmett Kelly? And so they said, well, he's standing right behind you, because she didn't know what he looked like. So she turns around, she sees him, and he's quite a bit older than she is, and she's like, not bad. They ended up getting married. And the reason I tell you that story is because Emmett Kelly, prior to that, was very, very well known. Like I said, he'd been in DeMille's movies. He'd traveled around the world as the circus. But it was when he met Evie Kelly that I think that his life really took off. Television became important to him and whatnot, but more importantly, he had 2 daughters, and one of them is here tonight, Stacia Kelly, to honor her father, come on up, who is also a proud Missourian.
Thank you.
When you finish, I want to say one more.
Oh my gosh, he told everything. Thank you for being here. This is such an honor. And you know what? I thank God for putting me here and making me the daughter of Emmett Kelly. When I was a little girl, they used to say, how does it feel to be the daughter of the world's most famous clown? And I would go, he's just daddy. You know, he was funny at home, but our playgrounds were the backyard of the Walendas, and we would swing on trapezes. We had a trampoline. And so, you know, when you're a kid, you just do what you do because that's your family, right? Then I grew up and I went to college, and I'm like, a lot of these people know who my dad is. And then I went and I worked for the Ice Capades. I was a publicist for them. And I was on the road in the US and Canada, and everywhere I went, the publicity machine, they kind of milked it a little bit, but they said, wow, your dad was Emmett Kelly? I have such a special place in my heart for him. And that's taken me through all these years later. Whenever somebody finds out, who's a little bit older, they remember that he made them feel a certain way. He had a special gift. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so honored. My mother was the light of his life. She died last month, so I had her for a long time because she was a lot younger. And it's just a blessing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for this honor. He loved the Ozarks. He loved Texas County. He loved Houston and Missouri, and he loved people, and he loved this part of the country. So it's a huge honor. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes, Emmett Kelly Day. Last year, the state legislature in Missouri declared the last Saturday of every year as Emmett Kelly Day in all of Missouri. So it's pretty cool. We are celebrating tomorrow in Houston, Missouri. That's, his hometown. And there's going to be a parade, and all kinds of fun activities. And again, it's just a huge honor for everybody to come together and celebrate what that character had. And, that will go on forever, right? That character had empathy. That character made you stop and think. You may have laughed a little bit. You may have identified with his sadness, but you always identified with his carry-on, right? Always trying to see the best and keep going. Keep going. So sweep up that spotlight. So anyway, come on over if you can. Tomorrow it's going to be a big time. Oh, by the way, there's another celebrity back there in a pink jacket, James Hall. He's a sculptor, and I think he did something for you here last year, but he has worked on the most beautiful bronze sculpture of my dad, sitting on a bench in his costume with his arm like this, so you can come up and sit down and have a selfie with him. And we're going to be starting a big campaign to get that done for downtown Houston.
Yeah, it's, thank you, Stacia. So, James Hall, could you stand up, James? If you don't, so, we got to know James a few years ago. He's unbelievable, the work that he does. And so, as Stacia said, this sculpture, which he's making, and we don't have a photo of it, maybe you do, with you that you could show, it's going to be kind of something I think will bring people into the Houston area. And as Stacia said, Emmett Kelly Day is tomorrow. If you're around in Houston, it's going to be great. There's going to be a circus band of 33 musicians there performing. There's a lot of things that are going to be going on, a parade, as you said. And so I just wanted to say, and this is the pitch, hope you don't mind, is that we brought a few of these photographs, artwork that has been done about Emmett. If you'd like a memory of this, and I don't know, maybe you could get some of the other honorees to even sign the back of it. $5. It goes to the campaign to build the statue that's going to be in Houston. So thank you.
I have to mention James Hall. I'm glad you said something. James did design and put together the beautiful bust of Edwin Hubble that is downtown at the Webster County Museum. And it was through working with James that he mentioned that Emmett Kelly needed to have a star on the Walk of Fame, and thus came this part of the ceremony. So another round of applause for Emmett Kelly. Our final honoree is a performer whose name may not be as widely remembered as some, but whose voice, presence, and contribution helped shape one of the most beloved chapters in American country music, and right here in the Ozarks. Born Phyllis Widener in Dixon County, Tennessee, she would become known to audiences across the nation by the stage name of Tabby West. Raised near Nashville during the formative years of country music's rise, she began her career early, even hosting her own radio program before stepping into the broader spotlight. Tabby West was part of the remarkable generation of performers who defined the sound and spirit of country music in the 1950s. She recorded with major labels, including Coral, Decca, and Capitol, and shared stages and tours with some of the greatest names in the industry. By every measure, she was a talented and respected performer, a true professional who held her own among the very best of her era. But it was here in southwest Missouri where her legacy became firmly rooted when the Ozark Jubilee took to the airwaves from downtown Springfield. Tabby West became part of its extended family, appearing regularly on the nationally televised program and performing before millions of viewers across America on a weekly basis. Alongside such stars that you may remember, like Red Foley, Brenda Lee, Wanda Jackson, who she was roommates with at the Y during their appearances at the Jubilee, and Gene Shepard, she helped make the Jubilee not just a show, but a cultural phenomenon. She brought with her warmth, a smile, and a stage presence that our audiences long remembered. And those who saw her perform knew they were watching someone special, someone who embodied both the charm and the strength of country music at its peak. How many of you remember the Ozark Jubilee? Yeah. Well, if you didn't raise your hand, I will advertise that Missouri State University has started adding to their collection the recordings of the Ozark Jubilee, and you can go back and watch the shows in its entirety. Yet her story is unusual. Tabby West stepped away from the spotlight as the Ozark Jubilee came to a close in the 1960s. While many performers continued to chase the stage and the spotlight, she quietly chose a different path, leaving behind a legacy that remains preserved in those memories that I just shared. And I hope that you'll take the time to look up the name and the recordings of Tabby West. Today, we proudly recognize her. Her real name, not stage name, was Phyllis Spain Wiley. She passed away just a few years ago. And today, to accept her star on the Walk of Fame is her former husband, Mr. Street, who's traveled with us today from Tennessee. And if you'd give him a round of applause for being here today.
You'll have to excuse me for not going up the step. My chair just won't pull it up there. I tried it 2 or 3 times, and that bottom step catches this and puts me on the top step. So we'll have to work from down here. I don't know. I could talk to you forever about her. She was my soulmate, and we had 15 years of the best life you ever saw. She got to singing too many sad songs, and I had to leave. But I was with her the night before, the day before she passed that night, me and her son. And when we left her, I told him we'll never see her alive again. And he said, "How do you know that?" I said, we did a tour up through Alaska, and we had to go to a place called Nenana, which is 90 miles from Fairbanks. And you had to ride a train down in the morning, and it would back out. There's no turnaround. So if you didn't back out with it, you didn't come out till the next day, you know. So the land of the midnight sun, when the show was over, we'd have brush pilots come in and fly us out so we could do the next show, you know. And we had a lot of fun, and the wife that I'm with now and have been for the last 38 years told me that I should go see her. She was in a nursing home. And I went by and have lunch with her, you know, and then I'd go back that night and see her. And when we went down to that place in Nenana, the room they gave us to dress in had a dirt floor. It was as slick as it could be. They swept it and keep it clean, but there was just dirt floor. And there was nobody there when we got there. And she said, "This is going to be a real night, you know. There's nobody here. We'll probably have 2 or 3 people, and we'll have to put on a show for them." Well, let me tell you, when 7:30 come, them Eskimos come swinging in out of the trees, you know, and dance. They just had so much fun. But anyway, I don't know what to tell you. You'll have to bear with me about another thing. I'm deaf in one ear and can't hear the other one. So I met, this happened to be my brother here. We found out after we'd been talking a long time that we were Masonic brothers, you know. And we're also heavenly brothers because we both have the same Heavenly Father, you know. And someday I'll be back with her again, you know. And I'm going to see this guy.
I have, being a person very interested in the history of the Ozark Jubilee, several years ago we hosted a reunion of the Jubilee Stars at the Vandervoort in Springfield. And at that time there was a good number of the Jubilee performers still living, and Dr. John Rumble from the Country Music Hall of Fame helped me contact most of them, but nobody knew anything about Tabby West, where she was, what had happened to her. She'd fallen off the radar. And if you know Wayne Glenn, who was the old record collector, Wayne couldn't even find her, and that ought to tell you something. But Wayne began to do more research. The Country Music Hall of Fame did more research. I went to task with Google. What a wonderful research tool. And was able to find Mr. Street in Tennessee. And so Tabby West is going to have a place on the Walk of Fame where she will never be forgotten, and that'll be wonderful for the history of the music industry. What a great class of honorees. What great names we add to our roster of great Missourians to be honored. I hope you'll visit the Walk of Fame. The stars always go in right before the next festival so that the honorees can have their pictures taken. And they were just installed from last year, so if you were here and want to go downtown to see the stars, they're now in place. But let's give another big round of applause to those who are being added this year. If those who spoke to represent their families or who are receiving stars would like to come and stand with their stars, we'll take some pictures and invite you to come forward to do so. Thank you for being here for this ceremony.